years ago by Rumiana Nekova from Bulgaria. And the crews to watch in lane 3 and 4, Fie Udby Eriksson from Denmark, the London 2012 Olympic silver medalist in this event, and Great Britain's Vicky Thornley in lane 4, the Rio 2016 silver medalist in the women's double scull with Catherine Granger.
See the calmness up on the start. I think gathering thoughts there, Virginia Diaz Rivas. She was actually came through the repechage, the slowest qualifier into this one. The Canadian sculler Carling Zeeman got a silver in Lucerne. We saw her having a fantastic race with the woman beside her, the Danish sculler Fie Udby Eriksson. They had a really gutsy heat, which Eriksson just won. But exciting to see them racing again alongside Victoria Thornley, who's going from strength to strength in the single, having been at the double and getting a silver medal at the Olympics in Rio. Lisa Chenard, gathering experience. She looks to be having a good regatta with a good win in the repechage. And then the Czech sculler, Lucy Zabova, also came through that repechage and on the outside lane. So take a look at the experienced Fie Udby Eriksson, of course the silver medal at the London Olympics. Probably the experienced one in the field.
A good start here from Vicky Thornley in lane 4 of Great Britain. She looks like she's blasted out to an early lead. She'd be looking to get the measure of the woman to her right-hand side, the Danish sculler Fie Udby Eriksson. As you mentioned, Greg, the Olympic silver medalist from back in 2012. But we have the young Czech sculler here on screen, Lucy Zabova. Of course, Mirka Napkova, being such a dominant sculler for the Czech Republic for so many years, and it looks like the baton's being passed on to the young sculler over in lane 6, but you'll find it hard to compete with this woman. I was watching the heat the other day, and it flashed up in front of me, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's Kim Crowe on screen, and it's interesting to see how similarly she's sculling.
I was really struck by that. Of course, you know, Vicky Thornley, coached by Paul Reedy, the Aussie, and there's Fie Udby Eriksson, the Dane. But why did you say that Vicky Thornley is sculling in a similar way to Kim Crowe? What was it about the British sculler that made you think that? Well,
I think physically they're very similar. Very tall. I mean, the blonde hair is an obvious one, but very tall, very similar physique, and certainly I think that the way that she's separating out her stroke and that sort of length and relaxation, but also her precision through the front end was just very reminiscent for me of the way that Kimmy rose. Really long legs.
Well, she's a very tall lady. She has a long stroke, and we can see there's just increased efficiency, I think, in what she's doing. The blades don't look like they come back quickly. They look like they actually get really locked up out the front, and then she just angles and levers her body, as we say, reminiscent of Kim Crowe. But as we look, Fie Udby Eriksson on the far side, more powerful through the middle, through that draw and that drive of the stroke, just moving her boat alongside.
I just love the way that Fie Udby Eriksson has got her sculling together. You know, the Olympic silver medalist in 2012, she didn't have the best of times in Rio. She had that unlucky semi-final, but her and her coach Mads Halbro Hansen have really put a fantastic package together. You see she's patient, she's long, 32 years of age, coming into her prime really in women's singles. I think that's just about the right age to shine, and she's full of confidence. She had that fantastic race in the heats where she got led and then came back through in the last few strokes to take that heat win, and she's a woman at the top of the game.
Well, it was Carling Zeeman who she raced so closely in that heat, and Carling Zeeman is back in lane 2, who's going to need to put on a bit of a spurt and put on some speed now to get in amongst these qualifying places.
But we've seen this several times from Carling Zeeman, even this season, that she's quite comfortable to be out the back, but then the turn of speed that she has and her ability to sprint the last 500 is really quite extraordinary. It's how she got herself into a medal position in Lucerne.
And I think we should bear in mind, we've got Lisa Chenard here, the Dutch sculler in lane 5, who's gone out well with the pace. And I think, is she going to be the one who's going to be able to keep the pace through? She doesn't look like she has quite the acceleration and finish length as we see her here, but she's right up there and with this race.
Yeah, the Canadian looks out of this race, as you said, but I'm just looking back at the Lucerne split. She had a third quarter that was at least 3 seconds quicker than any other woman in that race. So she's way back there, but she could be right back into contention if she's got that bag of tricks, as we've been talking about, in the third quarter. She could be in contention as they go into the last 500. But Phoebe Eriksson, beautiful to watch, really, I think, patient in her sculling style. It's patient in her life. She's had the baby after the London 2012 Olympics. She's come back to the sport, a role model, I guess, for so many women around the world watching this presentation, and beautiful sculling technique as we go through the halfway point.
And there's still plenty left to happen in this race. These three look like they're out in front, but I think we've got to see Will Carling-Zeeman now crossing the line in front of us in that Canadian all-in-one suit, the red and white. Will she be able to make that move and get back on terms here and challenge these front three? Yeah,
it's interesting. She's coached, Carling-Zeeman, by Dave Thompson, the Kiwi who went over to New Zealand. There's Vicky Thornley, the Leander Club sculler. Her partner, Rick Edgington, silver medalist with Greg Searle in the 2012 Olympics, will be watching this presentation back home. Hi, Rick, if you're watching, we hope you're enjoying what Vicky is doing.
I think you just said we got a silver. Unfortunately, it was a bronze, as far as I remember. But
yeah, I've upgraded you.
Small minor detail in the story. We want the story of this race, and for me, Carling-Zeeman is starting to make the move. Is she going to get up alongside Lisa Chenard, who went so hard, was so brave? And is she now going to be able to keep this going as we see her in the centre of our shot?
I like what Lisa's doing around the back turn. It's really smooth, really fluid, easy release of the boat. Boat's running on.
It's interesting you say that, Martin, because I think it is really smooth, but I'm not sure if it's quite enough, whether she's actually really opening her shoulders up.
And now we can see the Canadian sculler, Carling-Zeeman. She's starting to get onto terms. She's got the fastest moving boat on the course alongside Vicky Thornley. Vicky can see the race starting to unfold behind her. She can see that Carling-Zeeman's going to start to get herself up, as we can see that lane 2 bow ball start to creep up on the Dutch sculler in lane 5. Lisa Chenard, Vicky Thornley starting to move up alongside the Danish sculler now, because the race is going to be on for this all-important third qualifying position into the A final. We're not awarding any gold medals today. Today is just about making the top 3, and the race is really about to start.
And this is where the race is, isn't it? This is about this third qualifying place, as Lisa Chenard takes that look to her right and thinks, can I find some more? There's still about 550 metres to go. She's going to have to respond and pick her speed up as Carling-Zeeman now threatens.
I'd say Zeeman can take this. They call her Z-Monster. There was a great feature on in Row 360 magazine, and the Canadian who shot to prominence in 2013 in the Canadian quad that got the silver medal.
And Vicky Thornley now moving up into the lead. I mean, that's been a really well-timed race from her, hasn't it? Phoebe Eriksson, she put herself out there in the second 500, had over a length's lead over the field, and Vicky Thornley now in the final quarter of this race has pushed herself into the lead, and it's this woman, Carling-Zeeman, with the big finish, who's looking to take that third qualifying position away from the Dutch sculler.
Well, what a move it is from Carling-Zeeman. This second 1,000, she's really powered on. She's putting the Dutch sculler, Lisa Chenard, under pressure. Now she's starting to put Phoebe Eriksson under pressure, and it's only Vicky Thornley who I think is going to be able to resist the power coming from the Canadian boat, as we've still got more than 250 to go.
I have to say that's a magical push from the British sculler. I didn't really expect to see that from. I thought Phoebe Eriksson would take this race, but she really has come through this regatta beautifully, hasn't she? There's the charge from Zeeman. Vicky Thornley looks magisterial out in front. Her coach Paul really must be so pleased. I'm not sure. I think
Carling-Zeeman is just still doing so well, as Vicky Thornley has been able to pick it up.
Phoebe Eriksson's out of it. Chenard's coming back through.
Yeah, it looks like Phoebe Eriksson too much, too early. Lisa Chenard has a response. Oh no, this race leader through the 1,000 is going to miss out on one of the qualifying positions. She cannot match the heat of Carling-Zeeman to her right and Lisa Chenard to her left.
How about this from Lisa Chenard, who we were thinking was going to be the one who'd get rowed down. She's been able to respond and go with Carling-Zeeman. It's Phoebe Eriksson with the experience who's been rowed through here in the last few strokes.
Carling-Zeeman in second place. Vicky Thornley's going to cross the line in front. We go to the shot there. Sensational last 200 metres. Thornley takes the win. The Dutch sculler Chenard takes second. Zeeman third. The Olympic silver medalist from 2012 has to settle for fourth place. Wasn't there so much going on in that race?
There was so much. Vicky Thornley looking very calm as she crossed the line. I think, as you said, magisterial was the word you used, Martin. She looked very good as the British supporters celebrate. What an incredible race from Zeeman. The Canadian sculler being so dropped and yet coming back. And wasn't that cool from Lisa Chenard? who managed to hold her nerve, hold back with her last big 30 strokes and then bring it through.
And Carling Zeman here on the screen, absolutely exhausted. What a sprint from her. And we spoke about it early on. We weren't worried for her. She was dropped way back, but we knew that this was what we could expect from her in the final quarter of this race.
Well, it was amazing that she let the field go so far away, the Canadian sculler. And we had Fayubi Eriksson looking very much in control of the race. But as we said, in the second 1,000, a lot could happen, and a lot did happen as we see the qualifiers there. Thornley, Chouinard and Zeman progressing to the final.